باشه عزیزم دیگه داد نزن، من میخوام توی این میتینگ. Hello.
Proprietary information.
باشه عزیزم دیگه داد نزن، من میخوام توی این میتینگ. Hello. Rich, if you're talking, we can't hear you.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. We have Ben up on stage as well. Do you want to do a quick mic check?
Hello, hello.
Awesome. We've got you. Cool. For those of you who are just joining for the first time, welcome all. A lot of familiar faces, of course. For those of you whose first time it is, the rough structure that we'll be going through is having a quick announcements at the beginning. We've only got a couple today, following up on some proposals. Then we'll discuss the roadmap. So that's myself talking about upcoming opportunities. Ben will be talking through some current pre-proposals and proposals that are just about to go live. And then my dad will be talking about current SPs and milestones and giving an overview of where it's at. Then we'll have the standard name and topic. So if you have a name and topic, the section itself is anyone from the community can present a topic that is either directly related to LivePeer or a topic which might be related to LivePeer in the future, something like a discussion of new technology or anything related, new go-to-market strategy. You can bring it up and discuss it. People have 5 minutes to present and then 5 minutes to discuss after. If it is a particularly spicy discussion, we can obviously make it allow it to run longer. And then we'll be finishing with wins of the week. That's where you can give a shout out to anyone else in the ecosystem who has had a particular win for this week. We try and make sure it's for other people, but if you yourself want to give a shout out to yourself, that's also you can give some self praise as well. So we'll be getting going in 1 minute, and like I said, if there are any names and topics, I can already see one from Define. Just chuck them in there, and we'll be getting going very shortly. Awesome. So I can see a couple of topics in the chat. I can see one from Define, one from EC Wireless, Elliot, and I think there's a couple of additional ones. So let's get cracking. And if you do have any named topic, just chuck them in the chat as we get moving. Great. So to kick things off, some announcements for the week. The first thing to note is the LIP 107 emissions recalibration didn't pass. So this ran over the duration of last week, and it proposed to reduce the target bonding rate by 4 percentage points, and to effectively ensure that emissions were on a downward trend. Inflation was on a downward trend. This didn't pass, so won't be coming in, won't be merged in, and Ben, I think maybe we'll touch upon that briefly in a bit. And then the other one is embody proposal iterations are live on. I'm sure Define is going to come in and speak a bit more about that. This has been reviewed by the foundation, and we definitely think there's a huge amount of good stuff in it. And from an iteration perspective, there's been a lot of integration of the feedback that has been put forward by the foundation team, but also by the broader community as well. So super excited to hear a bit more about that from Define. Cool. So to dive in with the roadmap, just a reminder, and I think Ben will share the roadmap in the chat. The roadmap is came out of the tactical recommendations and the advisory board system that was set in place last year, and also we have an exciting update of how everyone can continuously get involved with the ecosystem roadmap in the future. Again, Ben's going to talk a bit more about that in a minute. And I'm going to just start off talking about some opportunities that are being worked on and that are being scoped moving forward. So the first one is on the NAP effort. We've been talking about this as a community over the last month or so. And the main update here is that within this broader network as a product platform effort, the team is exploring different product services at the minute, and there's been an alternative vision for what the platform could actually look like in the future. So just to keep it at the highest level, Rick is back, so that's awesome news. Rick, technical director at Low Foundation, a long-time orchestrator. I'm back, exactly. And yeah, within this broader NAP effort is going to kick off an effort to explore a more scoped version of what the NAP platform will look like. I'll let him take on any further discussion in either today, but more likely in the future. And then Chang and the team that has already been working on the NAP platform will be continuing to build on the work of Cloud SP and to develop a version of the platform that really brings to life the network data observability and work primarily with the network's core design partner in Daydream and Scope and bringing those capabilities to life directly on the network. I think both teams are sort of head down building. I say both teams. There's obviously a lot of collaboration between, but there are alternative visions of what this product surface could look like, and I think it's really important that we explore them with a user-centric approach. So we'll hear more about this in the upcoming weeks. Really focus on just letting both teams ship and give demos in the near future of what it can look like. So exciting times to explore, and yeah, we'll let Rick and Chang talk about this either today or in the future if you want to reach out to them. And then secondly, there is going to be an update to how the ecosystem roadmap looks like and how you can get involved with it. So I think, Ben, you're up on stage. Do you want to talk a bit about that in name and topic?
I think I'll just do it in name and topic. Yeah, I think that's
awesome.
the for it. Yep.
Great. Yeah, Ben and the foundation as a whole has been trying to do a lot of work on how we can make the roadmap from something which is an artifact that we often refer to something which is far more interactive and community driven, incorporating a lot of the learnings that we got from the advisory board process and trying to make it more actionable for the community as a whole. So there's some exciting stuff that Ben's going to talk about in a bit. Cool. I will hand over to Ben now, who's going to talk about Embody, I think.
Yeah, well, just quickly to pick up on the previous discussion around LOP 107. Obviously, that didn't pass. The vote was sort of split. We'll provide a short update soon just on a bit of a retro and learnings from that process. The good news is, of course, right, that we're trending in the right direction around inflation. We're still a few percentage point above 50%, so should continue on the current trajectory for a while, which means that we can keep those conversations going. I know that there's different feelings. Some people wanted change your participation rate. Others felt more comfortable with change in the rate of change, I suppose. So yeah, we'll provide a retro soon on that, so everyone can sort of share their thoughts and we can discuss what's coming next. The other thing, is of course the Embody proposal, which I think is going to hopefully move towards a vote soon. I think there's lots of good information in there. People have shared feedback and Define is merging that in. So I will let him talk about that in the name and topic section. They're the only two live proposals that we've had just in the last little bit. But Dad, I think it's over to you.
Thank you. Mehmet here, Life Peer Foundation. I've got two updates on the milestones and the roadmap.
I can't hear my dad.
Oh, can you hear me?
Strange. I can hear my dad.
Okay, so I think
Okay, I might log back in. Very good.
Okay, yeah.
Great.
So yeah, I've got a couple of updates. As you know, this is we're into March, end of February, and we receive the monthly updates from different teams and their perspectives. I created an accountability report listing all of the teams that submitted their retros and their updates. You can check it out here. And also you can check the February wrap up, which has all of the links to the artifacts, and the January wrap up is also there, which holds, I think, all of the links to the items that are in the picture. These are the two updates I have on the roadmap side, and one final exciting update that I have is that we're also live on YouTube right now. So Watercoolers will be streamed to YouTube, and you can also check it there.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's really, really great to see the overview of the SPs in one place. So a big shout out to my dad for that, and obviously from an accountability piece, big CTA to make sure that if you are in the red here to try and get those updates for February, or to communicate that the SP has been wrapped up. Awesome. Anything else, my dad? Or should we move on to name and topic?
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Then let's crack on with name and topic. We have four. I think we have Define, Elliot, Luke, and Ben. I think Define was first. Do you want to hop up on stage and we'll get you to talk?
Hey guys, I'm Define. I'm an engineer and entrepreneur in the library ecosystem. I'm also an orchestrator. We're doing embodied agents together with my amazing partner Dan here. And today I'm here to give you an update on the embodied SP pre-proposal and the skill.md update. So I will start with the pre-proposal. We did 3 iterations after integrating participant feedback, library stakeholder feedback. We try to the best of our abilities to communicate the value for the general library community from this proposal. So the gist of it is that we look to create the WIP pipeline, which is an semi-automated way to go from intent to a full workload management. So we did some research and we identified that there are 6 stages of pipeline development, which are currently almost prohibiting developers from contributing workloads into the library ecosystem. And you have first research, so you have to actually do market research, identify possibilities and opportunities. Then you have to engineer the workload and deal with the many times complicated library tech. The third one is you have to QA the workload to find out it works. Then you have to contact the orchestrator so that they deploy your workloads, and this is also manual. And then you have to create the consumer interfaces and reach out to consumers to distribute that. So I would suggest to everyone who is willing to provide any feedback, just go in the updated pre-proposal and read it through in the forum. We want to make sure that we communicate this well. Our solution to this is a agent management platform, which is called Weave, which will be given to the library community as a public good, and where library stakeholders will be able to vote with their LPT tokens to steer those workloads. So all these pipeline stages, pipeline lifecycle stages, will be semi-automated by agents. And how this will look is that you as a library stakeholder, you will be able to do only these three things when you want to go from intent to a finalized workload distributed to consumers. You will have to communicate to the agent your intent, and then in each of the 6 stages of the lifecycle development, the agent will do all the work, and at the end of each stage, it will contact back. It will so that the stakeholder can provide additional feedback. So this is the review stage and can authorize move to the next stage. Uh, again, Rick currently is reviewing the technical side and is provide some very valuable feedback. So we are looking at least for one additional iteration. So please let us know if this is clear enough and if the value is being communicated clear enough. I think that this will actually enable people to enter the library ecosystem and to move uh, workload development, which usually takes months, to be done in a few weeks with manual human hours being reduced to 5 to 10 hours as a very approximate at this stage. And both the workloads will be the first iteration of that, but this will work for every workload. So at the end of the development, we will hand over this to the library community as a pipeline usable, go from intent to consumer distribution in that way. And so regarding the skill.md update, for those who are not familiar, we're doing an update to showcase the uh, automation of the consumer distribution lifecycle stage through a skill.md file, which you are able to give to your agent, and it will immediately get the ability to use the workload to interact with the API without any further cognitive actions. We still have one technical block to before delivering this, and the technical block is actually not on the orchestrators and not in our infrastructure. It is relevant to the infrastructure that was requested from orchestrators to mask their IP addresses. So we hope that this will be very soon resolved.
Awesome. Thank you, Define. Question from Ben here. Question: how and where will the skill MD be distributed?
This is a great question. Now, I think I can better answer this with a URL. So the skill.md is actually being hosted in GitHub. It is a text file. So you can, through your communication pipelines, through your communication channels, from your X, from going to different Discords, any kind of marketing interface you have, you can drop this to people, and all that people have to do to use your APIs to utilize your workloads is copy that skill MD and paste it to their agents along with one-time code. So when they do that, they basically rent the embody avatar for a specified time, up to 1 day, and they can use all the API commands to interact with the real-time avatar and create their own user cases, whatever that might be. So it actually reduces the cognitive strain of both distributing to the consumer and or developers, and also and also the cognitive strain of the developer being jumping to different documentation, URLs, gathering context, and going back and forth with their LLM. They only have that skill.md, which also contains everything you need to know, including how you pay for the workload if you have to pay, because you can also put price there like we do for gathering initial data. You can also specify the exact API, the exact API commands and every debugging steps or any knowledge that the agent needs to have to use it.
Awesome. Any other questions for DeFi? Maybe a question just on success metrics and impact. What do you expect to see, let's say, in the first 30 days? What would success look like?
And people actively using it.
10,
And
10 people, you said. I don't know whether it's me or you. Can anyone hear DeFi? Okay. Do you want to try? Yeah, let's get you back up. See if this works.
hello.
Yeah, great. We got you back.
Perfect. Yes, we want to start by having a close-knit community of people who are actively using it. So not just someone who used it for one day. If we have like 10 regular consumers, like we know that the distribution method works, and then we know it's valuable for people, like we're getting valuable, we aggregate valuable data, which we can iterate. And in the Weave proposal, we can actually iterate very quickly. I would suggest like to people to look on harness engineering and the new repository, orchestration repository that OpenAI released. So going from data aggregation, aggregating analytics to actually implementing that feedback into the tech is taking less and less time daily. And it is our user case in particular is a bit more complex because for QA step you need to actually have a video of the agent and a video understanding agent to help you analyze what it went wrong, what were the and the other data relevant to that instance, or uh, to help you understand what was the reaction of people. But this is also automated, and once this is resolved for our pipeline, which is resolvable with current tech, it will also be way more easy to resolve for less demanding pipelines. But it goes to map to every live peer workload.
Yeah, super exciting, and also not an alternative vision, but it's a different path for distribution. Yeah, super exciting to see the work. Any final questions from DeFi to DeFi?
Well, I have a final comment. It is made, this strategy was created for the agent to agent market, so it is a totally different landscape for traditional distribution. You have to actually create things that agents want to use and they can use easily. So, of course, like we do not claim that this will be the single universal solution that will take the market by storm. We think that this is a very valuable approach, and we will be very quick to iterate on it and improve it or get the better options once they appear.
Well, thanks so much, Define, and yeah, looking to hear more about Weave in the coming weeks. Fantastic. Next up on the name and topic, I think we have Elliot. Do you want to give a quick update on the Explorer, mate?
Yeah, hi everyone. This is a very quick update on the Explorer. So we've got a mix of some refactors, some bug fixes. On the bug fixes end, we've one minor thing is making sure you can use Brave on mobile. We've also fixed some division by zero issues with the ROI calculation. There was an issue where on mobile you couldn't close the delegate and undelegate sheet that popped up, so that's fixed. And a few other styling fixes. The chore, the logo's been replaced, and a minor feature. There has been there's like the CLI instructions that are in the poll page for if you want to vote through the CLI. That's now in the Treasury page as well. And a bug from last week that was brought up, which was that if you copy the project ID in the CLI instructions, it actually caused the entire page to crash, which isn't good. That's been fixed, so this should be all good now. And I have marked down also the bug that Jason just mentioned in the chat a little bit ago. If there's ever a day that Jason does not bring up a bug during a water cooler, it'll be kind of bittersweet, to be honest. But yeah, that's the quick update. And we're about halfway through the 60-day maintenance period. And yeah, we'll be back next week to give another kind of minor update.
Awesome. In Jason we trust. Any questions for Elliot and the Explorer team? And yeah, thanks for the updates. I think everyone appreciates the sort of incremental improvements that are happening across the Explorer. So yeah, Elliot and Jason, the match made in heaven. Any questions? Otherwise, we will move on. Cool. So next up, I think we have Luke, who is first time here. I think first time. Luke, is it your first time? I should ask the question.
Absolutely terrified.
Absolutely terrified. Please don't be. Yeah, super excited to hear more about Meteor Overquick. So just as a reminder, we try and give 5 minutes to present an idea and then 5-10 minutes to discuss after. But depending on the discussion, if it's a hot one, we can go for longer. So take it away, mate.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Luke, or Kixlated, whatever you want to call me. I was invited here to talk more about what's going on in the media landscape because I honestly don't know much about LivePeer, but I know that you guys use some of the underlying technologies, RTMP, HLS, WebRTC, and I've been working on replacing those. So yeah, I used to work at Twitch for like 8 years and Discord for almost 2. So the bugs with like speakers not hearing each other, that's my fault. I wrote the server-side code for this voice chat. But since leaving, I've been working open source, trying to get Media Overquick out the door. So it's being standardized as an IETF draft, working with folks from Google, Meta, Cloudflare, Cisco, etc. on it. Trying to make it like an official standard. Cloudflare is right now running my code on their servers, which is kind of fascinating and terrifying. Although the scale is no, people just it's a prototype, like it's not being used for production. But yeah, the goal is to try and replace all these like ad hoc media protocols, like RTMP, the thing from Flash era, with something modern and new. And we're leveraging Quick, the protocol that powers HTTP3, and just putting media over it. So yeah, it works for low latency, real time like WebRTC. Works for mass fan out like HLS and contribution like RTMP. What's kind of cool is everything is subscribe based. So things are done on demand. So you can establish a connection, but nothing happens until somebody wants, I don't know, the 1080p track or audio track. But if somebody's muted or minimized, then those requests won't go through. I think this is pretty cool for AI use cases. That might be relevant for you guys, because like if nobody wants the captions, then you don't run Whisper or you don't run whatever model. So it's kind of cool. It is effectively just pull based like HTTP, but for live streaming. Latency is dynamic, so you can. It depends on the viewer. Some people want high latency, some people want low latency, and it's really based on how long the viewer is waiting to wait for the data. And that's very different from WebRTC, which is what we're using, which just aggressively after 100 milliseconds gives up. And last little data bullet point I have written here before my 5 minutes is up is it's just the network transport. So everything is opaque to a CDN like Cloudflare. They don't understand media at all. It could be fully encrypted. It could be generic data. It doesn't have to be video or media. So a lot of people are actually finding use cases for media over quick that aren't media specific at all. I think actually some people recently realized like you can do like the AT protocol over it, stuff like that. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do, and I'm just sitting here trying to get people to use it. So yeah, I have a website, moq.dev. I can link it if you want. Yeah, that's it. And it was blocked. So somebody else will have to link it in chat.
I'm just getting it now to share. Awesome. Thank you so much, Luke. Really cool, and a big shout out to Shan, who I think invited you on.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, maybe just a first question is as it relates to LightPeer. You say you're new to the project, but obviously I'm sure you've done a quick ChatGPT overview. But before joining, where do you see the opportunities for the LightPeer ecosystem? How do you see it potentially integrated?
It's mostly a way of breaking out of the. I mean, I like to complain most about WebRTC, which is what I was doing previously at Discord, where it's basically Google Meet built into the browser, and if you want to do anything slightly custom at all, then you're just in for pain, and it doesn't work. So it's really kind of bridging that gap where you can do the low low latency that WebRTC can achieve, but you can actually do custom things over it, and you actually control your experience. It can do higher latencies, HLS dash style, but honestly, those protocols are pretty good already. So it's really, I think, for just a better way of doing real time stuff like what we're doing with Discord right now.
And I think, did you give a demo at Mux this year?
Yeah, right? It was at Demuxed.
Yeah, Demuxed. Yeah. Yeah, awesome. I saw the Hang.Live demo as well, so I'm going to share that for everyone to see.
Yeah, that's if you want a cringe meeting app. I'm focusing more on the open source side because I realize I don't want to do like a social media startup. I'll be honest. I just want to write Rust code and have people use it. So the main people using Mock right now, unfortunately, are for like security cameras. It's like defense contractors, but I'd like more people to use it.
Awesome. Any questions for Luke? Also getting some love for the website, so that's.
You gotta hand draw stuff so it doesn't look like it's vibe coded, even though it 100% is. Yeah,
nostalgia is the trend. We have Marco typing, we have Osman typing. I think these will come in. There's questions. We have Furious typing.
Yeah, the latest post, very similar to the low latency streaming for vehicles, is one of the contractors is using it for boats. So they're using Starlink mock over boats, and it works pretty well apparently.
There's one question from Osman saying, "What's Luke looking to do with LivePeer? Why is he here?" Is my question basically. So
Yeah, I mean that's a great question.
it's
Tell
a
me.
direct question. We always appreciate the direct questions. Yeah, feel free. Feel free to answer, Luke. Sorry, in the best way possible. Yeah, welcome back, Osman, as well. We haven't had an Osman question in a while.
Yeah, a lot of this is the low-level media protocol, so I don't know if it would impact LivePeer directly.
No, I think there's a huge amount, and maybe just coming to Marco's comment, which is a bit more relevant. We've had good success with Quick for low latency streaming on a spotty mobile connection for remote vehicles. We love for all these protocols to standardize, although there's still people using flash video in certain areas of the world.
Yeah, like that's kind of what this mostly is. It's a standardization effort. Like I have an OBS plugin that YouTube Live is looking into using just so they don't have to do RTMP anymore. Because yeah, it's just super old.
Any other questions for Luke? What maybe a follow-up question was what would be an obvious next step for you? Obviously, there's a number of video devs on the call, pretty much all video devs. So, what would be an obvious next step?
I mean, if you guys have any use cases that you think that current media protocols don't do a great job handling, stuff you'd like to see. I mean, most of everything that I've been building here is just built from pain, like working with HLS at Twitch and WebRTC at Discord. So this is just an opportunity if there's any pain points that you think I could help address for LivePeer.
Awesome. I would throw that back to Marco as well, who I think is still here. Yeah. Particularly on the transcoding video side. Can see a lot of people typing, Luke, so I almost don't want you to leave yet because I think there's going to be some more questions. But I am also conscious of time. I'm going to give another 5 seconds for question. Okay, here's one from John. We should explore adding quick protocol support to go live pit to see how well it performs. I'm also trying to.
I just haven't used Go Live here, so can't say how. But Quick does work pretty well. I can say it's a really good standard.
I wonder whether John is always go-to in terms of quickly building something or testing an integration. So maybe John, you can follow up with Luke. Might be an obvious way forward and see if there is the possibility moving forward.
Yeah, and I'll answer the XKCD question. This is being standardized by IETF. So it's the same group that does HTTP, DNS, WebRTC, you know, like a lot of big protocols, TCP, like pretty much all the main ones. So yeah, it's a new standard, but it is actually in the standards body that people use, which is exciting. It's not just me. I'm just one of a core group of 20 working on it.
I was going to say if Cloudflare and a load of defense tech is using it, it can't be too de-standardized.
Yeah, Google's writing the draft mostly, but Meta, Akamai, Cisco, just a lot of people. It's designed by committee, so it's got some awful parts as well, but
Awesome.
That's how
Yeah, I would say an obvious next step is are you going to be still in the Discord over the next week or so if people wanted to reach out?
Sure, of course.
What's the best way to reach out to explore further?
Yeah, I don't know, just look at my username and DM me. Or if
There
there's,
we
I don't
go.
know what channels. I barely joined the Discord just recently. I was told there was a meeting in an hour.
The last minute. Well, it's awesome to have you here, and yeah, definitely if you are going to obviously be in and around Discord, maybe people who can move it forward, John, an obvious candidate, just reach out and let's see if there's legs there.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much for joining, even at the last minute. It's wonderful to have you, and thanks, Shan, for reaching out. Great. I think final topic is Ben. If you're here, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, I didn't say any other name and topic. Yep. So I'll jump in. I had some slides for this, but I've shared in the forum already just some changes around the roadmap. So I'll include some links here in the chat as well for everyone to take a quick look. But yeah, I guess like just roadmap has been a public view into what the ecosystem's working on. So what's happening now and what we hope is coming up next and beyond. Until today, it's basically been like a one-way display, right? Where the foundation or the advisory
And just a heads up, you're a little bit patchy.
boards
Mate.
makes
I
recommendations.
I don't know whether it's just me.
Which I don't think is reflective, right, of like what a roadmap should be. Something that's helped shaped by people.
Ben, can you hear us?
Sorry,
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, you're a bit patchy. Oh. Let's try again. Third time's a charm. Just while Ben's coming back, I think this is the last name and topic. So if anyone has any last minute submissions, just pop them in the chat and we'll get to them immediately after. Just seen this from Chuck. Yeah, we'll get onto that now. Thanks for the heads up. Not sure where Ben has gone. Let's give it 30 seconds up.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, can hear you. Try again.
Okay. Looking in Luke's direction. Cool. So yeah, I think I was trying to share some links, but basically just saying, roadmap plays an important role to show what the ecosystem's working on and what's coming up next. So far has basically been like a one-way display where the advisory boards or the foundation made a bunch of recommendations and they sort of got onto the roadmap. But ultimately, yeah, we want this to be a two-way system where, it's shaped by the people building it. And everyone has a chance to contribute into, the sorts of things that might be making their way onto the roadmap. There's a forum post around this, which has the relevant links. I'm on my phone now, so it's a little bit tricky for me to copy stuff across, but I can do that after I finish speaking. But yeah, just really wanted to introduce the new community suggestions process. So if you go to roadmap.livepeer.org, you can now submit a suggestion, basically just describe problem or something that you would like to see making its way onto the roadmap, why it matters, and ideally what success looks like if we do that. People have the ability to upvote and comment on those, so it can be fully interactive way for us to start to generate more signal around things that people are supportive of. Beyond just the SPE process, right? Probably important thing to say here is that this is not a true part of governance, right? We still have the proposals process. This is completely separate from that, but it's a way where we can start to align around priorities or ideas that people want to see the ecosystem moving forward with. We'll sort of support people through that process, provide feedback, help sharpen things up. And then each month we'll have a call either here on the Watercooler on a monthly basis or on a separate call where community suggestions can be discussed in more detail to further clarify on the signal from the noise and then make decisions around how we can support things to move forward, whether that's moving them onto the roadmap, moving things towards SPEs, or perhaps figuring out other ways that we can support ideas or projects to move forward. Like I said, beyond just the proposal and SPE process. So the call to action here is really for people, if you have something that you feel strongly about, that you would like to see the ecosystem working on, if you see a problem that maybe others haven't identified that you think need to be solved. No discussions today. There was some things around delegation and ways that we can improve that. This is a place now where you can start to capture those ideas, and we as a community can rally around how we line up people, resources, and broader support to make things happen and move that into visibility on the roadmap as well. That's my quick overview. I will try and share the link. No, I see Rick's already put that in the chat. But yeah, maybe go and have a look at that forum post. Hopefully it's clarified a bit better than I have here. And then, I'm really excited for this. I think we've got lots of great ideas, lots of great energy. This is going to be a way for us all to capture that a little bit more effectively, have the discussions we need, and move a lot more things forward. So, happy to take any questions, Rich, if there's anything.
Awesome. Any questions to Ben about the roadmap? Maybe one initial one is, what stage of readiness of an opportunity or an idea should someone be submitting something? Because I think they're, obviously with an official roadmap, it can be a bit daunting to put ideas forward, or you have a discussion on Watercooler, does that go in, or does it need to be in more scoped? So maybe just an overview of what level people should be submitting ideas and opportunities here.
Yeah, I think what's important is that there is clarity around what the problem actually is, why it matters, and then what success would look like if we took action on that. I don't think it needs to be a scoped out project as such. I don't think it needs to be a proposal type thing or identifying resources or whatever, although all of that additional information can help. I think what we're trying to do here, right, is to take, the identification of problems and potential solutions that improve the picture for LivePeer into a slightly more formal setting for people to discuss, so that things don't get lost or dropped. Even on the Watercooler last week, we sort of broke and then had like the open orchestrators discussion again. It was great. There was lots of awesome suggestions in there. There was, I think, a demo from Mike around Blue Claw from memory, which is looking to solve a particular problem or challenge. But that stuff just sort of comes and goes, right? Whereas this, what we're trying to do is capture things a little bit more clearly so that everyone understands, hey, these are real problems, these are real opportunities for the ecosystem that we can try and rally behind. So not trying to avoid your question there, but I think what's important is, that we just have some definition of the problem and what a better future state could look like. Then we can have the really important part, which is not like up or down vote on the idea or opportunity as such, but more the discussion, the sense making from that catalyst of people identifying things that we should be trying to understand more fully.
Awesome. So trying to understand the problem space, what you're really trying to solve for is enough, and moving forward with knowing that there'll also be support to scope that problem and come up with a potential clear opportunity for the future.
I think that's right. Yeah. We're not asking people to replace the proposal process, right, by putting proposals into here. This is just like opening up the surface for us to have more of these discussions around what is the right things to be working on. How can we allocate our resources most effectively?
Awesome. Super exciting to see that come to life. I know there's been a lot of momentum around the roadmap, and making it more interactive, engaging, driven by the community is ultimately what the foundation is here to do. Any other questions from folks for Ben? Okay, cool. Well, we have a final discussion topic, I think, coming from Peter. Do you want to come up, mate? Peter, do you want to? I think you have to request to speak. There we go. I can't hear anything. Can anyone else hear? Is it just me?
Oh, I think
Oh, there we go. Perfect. Got you now.
my app has decided to relegate me to push to talk. So I don't know if that's a recent Discord update. Thanks, Luke. Yes, thank you, Rich. And thank you, Ben. Ben, for addressing a bunch of, I think, really relevant topics here in how we can orient towards, what's the best for the LivePeer project and protocol. And I think that something that Dane addressed earlier, and really this is kind of something that's been forefront of my mind, is something that I believe it was the founder of the Next protocol shared in an interview, how he believes the biggest users of blockchain in coming years will be agents. I apologize if I cut out there. this push to talk is not working as best as I would like. But the point being that blockchain will be used by AI agents, and MCP servers are at the at the corner of that, where we can leverage the live peer network for agents. And we've kind of let the initial push of the AI SP fall onto a back burner when we started doing Comfy Stream and Daydream, and building out that whole set of technologies. And so Batch has really, it now still exists in a corner of AI runner, that's hard to run. You can only run one pipeline at a time. We have a better solution for that with Comfy Stream now. And I think combined with MCP servers, keeping people on the live peer platform for an agent kind of response might be a really awesome thing just to drive fees. We showed that a couple of years ago that we were able to drive a great number of fees via companies interested in our batch jobs. And I just wanted to throw that out to the community that the AISPE, now known as Muction Labs, is still interested in moving this forward. Kind of wanted to gauge interest and kind of put forth the idea of just I may start a Discord channel to talk about this, and a forum post, etc. Just wanted to be vocal and say I think there's a future here. With Comfy Stream, you can run multiple model workloads, multiple pipelines that are dynamically loadable, so you're not running separate containers like we used to with AI Runner. You could run Whisper, you could run text to image, all these things basically simultaneously in the same container on each node. So we've got a better technology stack now, and I think that combined with a kind of agent first architecture and idea. No, they've dropped Comfy Stream and have gone back to using a native AI runner approach. But I think with the work that John's done on Comfy Stream has been amazing and has solved a lot of the problems that we encountered in the first launch of Daydream, which Comfy Stream did initially use Comfy Stream and rely on that. I know that I've had a bit of pushback here, knowing that the batch job area is fairly saturated. There are a lot of batch job providers, but I think that as live stream to unify those under one API could be really great.
Yeah, I think we can't hear you anymore. Did you stop speaking or?
Yeah, I did stop speaking. Sorry if I cut out
Okay.
this.
Sorry.
For some reason, I've got to modify my push to talk feature here. It's unfortunately my touch screen keeps unpushing, so I've had to repush it. I apologize for any cutout there. If you want any clarification, would be happy to.
Awesome. Any questions for Peter? I think there was one from Mike, but that's already been answered, I believe. Any other questions? John says, I love the idea of batch pipelines that are important to agent use cases as well. LLM requests are technically batch, for example.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm trying to allude to, is that I don't think that real-time video is necessarily exclusive of assistant small model batch pipelines that could be many hosted on a single node and loaded dynamically, just to provide a simple service of maybe just translation of a paragraph. Because we're going text to speech, speech to text, and then now they're speaking in a different language. Now you need a translation model, and that can be spun up in Comfy Stream dynamically hosted on the same node as one doing text to speech or text to image. And these little services are things that agents are going to need and do request. I mean, not just LLMs, but all these ancillary functions and features.
I think John is replying as well. What does an MVP look like here? What's the sort of, how do we test this from a hypothesis perspective?
My understanding and belief that is, if we were just simply to stand up a gateway and an MCP server that allowed agents to connect and go through some number of subscribed nodes that were hosting ComfyStream, with the appropriate models downloaded, that they could host a half dozen different pipelines, I think it would enable a bunch of different types of agents.
I feel like there are multiple people who should be on the stage. Rick, do you want to?
Oh, and of course the publisher clearinghouse and ability to load money into either not only Gateway but for your agent to pay for these things are things that are in active development and getting close to, I think, production level readiness that were kind of prerequisites for this. 'Cause before this, nobody knew how to get an agent. Before this, nobody knew how to get an agent or an app onto the network and pay for it. But getting these inroads, that's what John has been working on with Josh, have been, those are prerequisites, and I think they're there now. I mean, keep me honest, John.
Rick, do you want to come in? I don't know whether you're speaking.
I just want.
There we go. Yeah, can hear you now, man.
Great. It's great to be back. Thank you for the great Watercooler today. I just onboarded for 1 week. I already see a lot of nice improvements on the payment clearinghouse, also on the NAP product, which I'm really excited about. So I've been just onboarding, looking at the quickest way that we can get what we can do in Live Network visible, and also how we then can quickly create demand loops. But I think this topic from Peter is really important. I think the MCP servers are really important. You can generate them mostly, I think also partly from the OpenAPI specs, which we used in the AI Runner. I was doing some tests on the work that Victor did there. But I think for me it's for two reasons. It's not only that agents can use this, which you can link very nicely to this X402, which we have been discussing, also this Ethereum improvement proposal, which makes it easy for agents to discover each other. I forgot the number, but I'll get it in the chat. But also for developers, because what I see with also friends and colleagues of mine is that a lot of people, they really use these MPC servers with cloud to quickly prototype something together, make a plan, and that means if you create an MCP server for the LivePeer network, it can be discovered by this coding agents, and you will show up better for these developers that are onboarding the LivePeer network, because they have the knowledge available to see what the network can run, what is available, and those kind of things. So I really want to second that this is also an important topic, I think, to look into, in which I've done a little bit of research into.
John, I don't know whether you want to chime in as well. I don't know whether you can come up on stage and talk.
Yeah, thanks, Rick. I that was really my intent on getting on stage here, was just to raise awareness of this kind of concept, because I know it's a bit tangential to a lot of the pursuits that are being currently pushed by Aiken Foundation and other groups, but I still think it's important. So yeah, thanks for chiming in. Good to see you back.
Yeah, great to be back after 2 months raising a baby. So it's exciting to be here.
Yeah, welcome back, Rick. I was actually taking the day off, so I was just kind of hanging back in the audience. I had a bit of a medical issue on Friday, so just kind of getting through the day-to-day. Yeah, basically my thoughts on this is a high-value thing. I mean, people have wanted to do little videos on LivePeer for a long time. We've always had our batch pipelines, but they are getting old. I think we have an LLM pipeline, but it only runs on 3090s. It won't run on a 4090, or at least won't run on a 5090. So there's like a lot of different workers that have different CUDA libraries built for their specific use cases, and pipelines are built with specific dependencies. And ComfyStream was always pretty universal, and able to support multiple things. We focused a lot last year on supporting multiple modalities, adding audio support, so you could receive a stream that just had video or just had audio or had both video and audio, dealing with those frame skipping use cases and stuff like that. So we were really trying to make ComfyStream a very reliable AI worker that would scale for different types of workloads and different modalities. But one thing that was always like never fully, like early on, Comfy was identified as a good opportunity for batch because it's image to image, it's a batch worker, right? And we went so deep into real time that I think we kind of overlooked that opportunity to pick up all the other batch pipelines that are out there. I mean, even many of the things that the Hollywood production houses and stuff are asking for, the text to video,
Absolutely, John.
to video output. You can stream outputs. You could even do like a text audio narrator. These are still real-time workflows, but they're requested in a batch kind of way. And being able to, the most important part for the Live Peer network is we have a lot of GPUs sitting around there just running one model or one pipeline. There's no way, they don't really ever switch. And that limits what we can offer. As if we want to try to sell one particular model or thing, we can go after a market for that. But what if we have two people wanting two different things? Well, our GPUs are split in half, and we have to coordinate all the chaos around that. It never seemed like it was too scalable. So ComfyStream was made to kind of have this warm up ability, and Comfy itself is unique in that it has the ability to cache different parts of an AI pipeline in a workflow and automatically load and unload memory associated with each node. So we spent a lot of time on that last year. Could definitely speak to it, but so far this year we've been focused on the gateway side, trying to bring demand into the network and make it easier to build, and that's super exciting as well. I think we have a lot of work to do on the SDK. I was talking to Rick about earlier today. I definitely agree with the MCP server approach. When you think about these capabilities in the network and multiplying what's available, I think ComfyStream can help on the supply side a lot. Anyway, that's all I've got.
Peter, Rick, anything to add there? I mean, there is also a question from Shan. Has anyone looked into how Venice is coordinating model access across its network? For those of you who don't know, this is Eric Voorhees. Here we go. So definitely some research to the NAT teams that are working out there. Big thanks, Shan, for suggesting. Yeah, anything else to add? I think there's about 3 discussions going on at once here, so feel free to chime in. Rick, Peter, anything that you wanted to say in conclusion? I think come back to Peter. Anything that you wanted to say in conclusion, and
Yeah,
maybe
I
just a follow up on Muction and
yeah, well, exactly. That is relevant, and the AISP is not dead. It is now known as Motion Labs because for the greater community to know, we had a very close relationship with Inc. Hopefully you can still hear me now. My push to talk is still being funny. That we felt it was necessary to kind of establish our own kind of entity that was not so dependent upon Inc. resources. And unfortunately, recently with the downturn of the market and everything, we're having problems really getting a good feel for making sure that what we propose will be fully supported by the community. And that's what we want to do and move forward in unity with all the other projects but it seems like NAP is well on their roadmap, and we'd love to contribute and build more plugins for NAP. But I think that there are also other ways we can contribute. So I just wanted to chime in here and kind of get a community feel and let you guys know where we're at. I really hope we can come back in the fray, and I really hope we can all contribute back to the network as we have been over the past few years. So thank you.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, John.
If I just love to reiterate one point that Peter made is that the batch pipelines today are kind of in a corner of AI runner, and they are getting older and gaining some tech debt. And I think that we could have a little focus there with a more universal batch type worker. We can consolidate a lot of that code and make and give more visibility to LivePeer, as well as a better product image around that.
And from an orchestrator standpoint, let me just reiterate something really cool about this is that Comfy can host basically the equivalent of, a half dozen or more of what we used to have containers launched independently off of AI Runner. But Comfy Stream will just load that workflow independently. It'll just pull them. It'll just load those models ad hoc when it gets a workflow.
Just to get Ben read my mind here, but this is the exact purpose of suggesting roadmap items and going through this process, because I think what is really hard within the community at the minute is to build momentum when there's so many different initiatives, and the ease of building has really tended towards, the cost of building has really tended towards zero. But there are some awesome initiatives here, and there are some initiatives which have been taken on and sidelined for whatever reason, that I think this mechanism is really trying to give a group like Maction the opportunity to come back in and build momentum. So Peter, I know we've been discussing over the last weeks about it, but yeah, this is definitely something which I think if we can try and get a roadmap item and get some momentum over the next couple of weeks, there's an obvious path. Back in.
Thanks, Rich. Thank you I appreciate you having me on stage.
Awesome. Yeah, a comment from Vera is about the past Venice stuff. Yeah, I think it was supposedly decentralized at the beginning, and then it sort of wasn't. But yeah, worth doing some more fact finding on the Venice side. Yeah, comment from John as well. Love to see a demo. You're up on stage, John. Do you want to speak to that?
Sure. Yeah. So just as I linked to there's like a BYOC worker example in Go Live Peer where it just does a reverse text and you can register the capability on Go Live Peer site. I think it'd be cool to set up a worker, have two models for a particular pipeline, and pipe everything through registers BYOC and scope out what we would remove or what we would replace. But I think in general, if you could just demonstrate. And text to image is pretty simple, but maybe you could do two different types of pipelines or just one pipeline. But just showing that we could advertise multiple models, I think, would go a long way. And then even a comparison of the performance differences between the current cold model loading. I don't even know if that's really an apples and oranges comparison, probably. But just some good numbers on the performance would be good to evaluate. It'll definitely be faster than anything we have with the managed container loading that we have today. Yeah, a couple other thoughts. I know there's sort of this idea of having a managed container that can do a lot of different things, and being able to just send work to that or allow users to kind of compose a pipeline based off some predefined stuff. So that's been in the works before. I know Scope has got modular diffusers on it, which makes things more dynamic. But there's definitely a lift needed to get some of this newer pipeline stuff on the network. It's working through the gateway side a lot this year. And maybe one weekend we can get together and do a quick hack. I love the idea. And getting this into your proposal would be, these are the types of things I think, the community has initiative around, and there's a desire for it, because we have an incentive as orchestrators to get the work on the network, right? So even if there's not like an incentive for promoting roadmap items, I think stuff like this organically comes out just through our desire to get demand on the network.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things, and we're seeing this at the minute with NAP as well, is looking at how we fund a lot of these smaller experiments. I think John, you were talking about that before, about retroactive funding, or some way of allowing like shorter hypotheses to be tested quickly, especially with one person can do the work of five in a week rather than, or a couple of days rather than in a month. So how do we adapt on-chain treasury funding mechanisms to be able to support that? I know this is something that is going to be a focus point of the foundation. I think Ben is Ben and I care for this, but yeah, also open that up to the community if there are any thoughts there.
Yeah, I would agree. It really reflects this effect I think most developers have seen with vibe coding and AI coding agents. It's taking, we don't have to do as much actual, writing code and formatting paragraphs. Like everything is just built. And so it's the ideas that become the most important part, that, how we work through ideas and identify what's high value, and how we prototype that really defines how successful we are, I think. So these tools like the roadmap are actually way more important than we might think of them in the current day, as opposed to the past. I think that's a good point I'd like to make.
And I completely agree with your comment there, Peter. At the same time, we, at least for like long-term reliability, for security, but it is that it's how quickly you can get to a working prototype that can be validated against a hypothesis. And often that is very quick. And then once it's been validated, that more resources are then put behind it based on the validation, rather than spending 2 or 3 months building without getting that validation quicker. So I completely hear what you're saying. There's a balance here, right?
Yeah, I think this also, I see it a lot around me, of people using AI there to really prototype the things. I think there's no excuse to do not prototype your IDs anymore there. And then it's mostly, I think, very important to just review the code very well, because also AI can make a lot of slop in there. But it allows you to quickly test out IDs, to build like things that you normally do like 1 week in like 2 hours, do multiple things at the same time, run multiple agents, which in my opinion really enlarges like the creative spectrum as a developer or a creator. You can leverage, and even if you don't know to write code, it gives you like an ability to showcase. I have some friends at me that have like these IDs, they built it, and then they can showcase what they mean, and then they could take it from there with the team to make it more product ready. So I think that's an important call out.
Defan, you're on stage here, and you've mentioned something.
That's the expert on all these kind of things. Welcome, George. How are you doing?
Hello, hello.
You mentioned here why we can't have multi-sigs where foundation orgs are in for such projects. Do you want to talk more about that?
Yes, I think especially for new projects where you don't have proven contributors, you don't have SPs like the AI SP or the Cloud SPs, which they have continuously delivered on their proposals. This should be the gateway, and you can implement all the retroactive funding and all the rule set that the foundation wants to push through that logic. And uh, I can't understand why we have to think about this, like spend some weeks to let's think about the best solution and how to fund new projects, because it, it looks like a decent solution, maybe not a perfect one. As John said here, larger groups move slower, but you can still resolve this issue by having a schedule where you authorize funds every month instead, maybe in times of emergency need. So is this now my argument is that I think in some aspects we are moving slower than we should move, especially when you take into account like the larger intelligence explosion that is happening around us, and in a lot of ways it seems that we are moving like how organizations used to move 2 or 3 years ago. And this is a general argument. I'm not trying to point fingers to anyone. Like we ourselves, like we haven't moved in some aspects like as fast as we want to move, but like I think it's important to try to understand what is the block and how it can be resolved. Like to have these accountability discussions between us where we are very harsh in the criticism that we give so that we can have like the maximum yield result.
Yeah. Maybe I can jump in here because I think it's good, right? I guess from my perspective, yes, it's about the funding. I don't think it's about like the multi-sig or whatever. I think for me, the current situation is that there's one mechanism, right? There's one mechanism, which is that you have to create an SPE proposal, right? Which is a very high barrier to entry. It, I think, creates like an inflation or a growth in terms of like what needs to be in there, right? Because it needs to be at a certain size to package it up and therefore justify people voting on it and, yeah, setting out a roadmap for like 3 months of like, this is what we're going to do and here's the milestones and all this sort of stuff. So I definitely agree that that is like a barrier to our ability to move fast, which is why we want to have this suggestions piece. Now, I would take the point, right, that it still might be a couple of weeks before like we can have these discussions, but I think having a greater pipeline, like a pipeline of opportunities that everyone can see and things move through those gates or whatever is an important step in the right direction. But the bigger thing is like it's cultural, right? Which is it's behavior based. There's nothing to stop people coordinating and coding up things right now to Rick's point, to create a prototype that you can share back. Currently, it just like doesn't happen. I think because there's still like the culture of why would I do that before I'm going to get paid or things like this. So I think we need to come at it from multiple angles. I think we're starting to take some steps in the right direction. But this needs to be an ongoing discussion, right? If builders feel like they're being locked from building a prototype that they can share back here and rally people around, then I think that's where we need to get to the heart of it. But to me, anybody can prototype up anything they want. We're trying to create new pathways for them to get visibility and feedback around that. And in time, we will map rewards, funding to that in a more effective way. That feels like where we need to be going. So it's incumbent on all of us, right, to just pick that up and start working on the cultural behavioral piece. And we're definitely thinking about how we can better support people that are on that path. Anyway, that's my point of view. I'd love pushback or competing views if there's things that we can be doing right now. But I think we're not dealing with a bunch of prototypes that are being put out there right now. We're having a lot of discussions around ideas, and that's probably the part that we can move forward on right now.
I totally agree with everything that you said, Ben. I think it's important on identifying the issue. And you don't have workloads because you don't have these incentives and for builders. And the reason we don't have these incentives of builders, as you said, is because we have only one funding mechanism for public goods. So what can be a potential solution for that is to create another financial mechanism. So how we can create such a financial mechanism? I think instead of doing proposals where you're getting some LPT which you have to immediately spend for your funding needs, we can act, you as a foundation, you can do a proposal where you are getting a financial package in LPT, which you can then stake so that it accrues rewards, and then use these rewards as incentives for the builders. And then you can, inside that financial vacuum, inside the greater financial library ecosystem, you can actually centralize the rewards distribution and the incentives distribution. You can, for example, take the lead there and make it a lot faster and reduce the barrier of entry. Because, in my view, the greater issue for there are two issues for attracting the new builders. The first is there are no incentives, which is kind of weird if you look uh, at the size of life beer. And the second is the technical barrier of entry is high. So this might be a solution.
Definitely, yeah. I fully agree with that. Right, that's what we want to address. I think the point that I'm trying to make, right, is if people have things, then let's start moving forward on them. Because I think if we were to go to the Treasury and say, look, we've got these prototypes being built, a pipeline around the roadmap that can capture them and help shape them in a useful way. And we're going to put funding and a governance mechanism around that or behind it to continue to provide the stimulus. That's going to be good. What I don't want to do is turn up and say, hey, give us money to incentivize builders, because that's immediately criticized, right? So I'm just asking for the cultural change that we need here, which is to get things that people want to see happening through prototypes and getting them into this suggestions pipeline. And then 100%, I think we can come up with ways that we can ask for and map funding to that to make more stuff happen.
I mean, this was a key item on the roadmap. I think I'm not sure if it's still there with the roadmap update, but particularly incentivizing new go-to-market bets is huge, and obviously we can extend that out to making improvements to the network as well. My personal opinion, as this is separate from the foundation, is that it's both and it's got to be the roadmap piece that Ben has put forward as a sort of hypothesis, and like really being clear on what specifically the hypothesis is, and then having some sort of retroactive funding based around whether that hypothesis has been clearly communicated, clearly tested, and delivered on. I think combining those two mechanisms could be very impactful. But I completely agree with all the sentiment that says that the one funding mechanism that we have is incredibly difficult to navigate, particularly for new builders. A reminder: we also did have the grants node. I think that's what Jason is referring to. This was previously, in my opinion, I was a part of that team, but it wasn't used as effectively as it could have, because it was mostly focused on Lightbit Studio when I first joined, and building on top of Lightbit Studio when I first joined. Historically, maybe someone else can speak to that longer than 3 years ago, but I think it is an exciting moment that we do have to capture as an ecosystem, and speed is so critical, and there can't be any hindrance to thought. So yeah, I agree with a lot of what's been said, and I know that exploring this space is going to be critical for the foundation, but also throw this over to the community, because obviously if Ben and myself see that there's a huge amount of forward momentum, then obviously we will be the first to get behind it there. Rick, did you want to add something? I saw you unmuted.
No, yeah, I was thinking about adding something. Just wanted to second that. Mostly that also, if you don't know how to code, and you have a great idea, just prototype it in Lovable to showcase it to the community. Just use Cloud to showcase it, so that it becomes visible. We talk about it and we can gain real traction. So it's not only just engineers, but also I think everybody can now showcase what they want to build.
I do have to hop personally, but I'll let Ben and Rick take things forward. So thanks everyone for listening. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, I think last week we just had like the open discussion, right? So happy to keep that going. I think this is a good discussion that we can pick up again on next week. But yeah, are there any other points of view or topics people want to share? I think DeFi and Peter, you guys are on the stage, right? So you can have that discussion direct rather than in the chat
correct.
if you want to.
I just want to say to Peter, but okay, the exposure is one part of the problem, but even if you had 100x exposure today or tomorrow, you will still have very few people joining. And you will have some of these people throwing the towel midway because of how hard it is. And this is why I think it's important, like, to reduce the cognitive strain of onboarding to Livebeard and to make it as easy as just using one simple accent.
And I think that's what I was trying to allude to here with how Comfy Stream can benefit not only builders, but also orchestrators. See, orchestrators can host multiple models, and so it's really a single on-ramp as opposed to having to call into 6 different services. Like you might be using 11 Labs for something, you might be using ChatGPT or Claude for your LLM, and then you're using LivePeer for some streaming, or maybe you're even using one of our vintage text to image models or text to video models. that if we could provide more of a unified interface, and I think that could be done through MCP servers, and that allows people also for their agents to do this work for them. But their agents only really have to connect to LivePeer. And I know we can't necessarily be a one-stop shop, but ComfyStream is an avenue to providing something very close to that, or at least one that's very flexible and can do a lot, as well as making it easier for orchestrators to run, because they don't have to have downloaded a dozen different containers, one for each job. They just are running ComfyStream, and ComfyStream can download the models dynamically for each workflow, or they just have, through BYOC and ComfyStream are registering the models that they have available. A quick pathway onto how to build an agent on LivePeer would, I think, be a great way forward.
Sorry, Peter, I missed the last part, but I heard everything else.
I was thinking that with ComfyStream as a backend, providing multiple models, it would not only allow orchestrators to host many models without the overhead of having to download a bunch of different containers and those containers having to relaunch, and there's a startup penalty there. And agent builders could come on in a clear roadmap and utilize an MCP server that hit these ComfyStream models. That's just kind of a vision that I think John has been pushing, and I'm aligned with, and I think is probably a great way forward.
Totally agree.
I wanted to point out the MCP capabilities, taking what's on the network available and expressing that into a format that agents can understand, I think is really important. It does fit also into this agent payment use case around the payment clearinghouse. So as we get that infrastructure set up, agents will be able to talk with a remote signer and negotiate, do prices with orchestrators directly. So I think it's really important to go ahead and start just prototyping what that looks like. Even if it's just, there's probably a lot of overlap there between fixing up the old pipelines for batch, and enabling LLM, and then experimenting with multiple capabilities, dynamic capacity and stuff like that on the network. That was our vision with Comfy, was that, if you get a request for a certain type of job, the user might want that GPU warm on that pipeline to get instant results, where they might not really necessarily ask for that, right? Or it might be able to fall back. If they can't find a warm one, it finds a cold one and loads it. And that just makes the network work better. You get less orchestrator insufficient capacity errors, and you get one worker that can support all these 4 or 5 different types of pipelines a lot easier than what we have today. So I totally agree. I'd love to see a demo. I think it could be built pretty quickly on a weekend or so.
The funny thing is, I was trying to prototype this weekend mostly, working on what Victor did with real-time pipelines, creating a better way as a developer interface with the decorators. I already have a script that translates into an open API spec. So basically all the custom pipelines that you add will be added to an open API spec, which can be displayed on a website like a capability portal, which we discussed. We can talk a little bit more about this. Didn't want to already talk on it because I first want to have a prototype showcase to the community. But basically, based on there, I was working on creating an MPVC server that will immediately showcase what capabilities are available. And the reason being also that, for example, I was in my free time when my baby was not sleeping. I was basically working with a friend on a small startup ID, and then already most of the things that we used there, we added a lot of MCP servers to really quickly prototype something together. So that was very powerful workload. We'll also share that, I think, when it's ready. We're still launching that. But it's funny that this discussion comes up. I think it's a strong thesis.
This is really
the
neat.
MCP. The MCP, I think, solves only part of the issue, because you resolve the issue of how quickly can the agents communicate and how quickly they can build something, but it still does not resolve the distribution issue.
Correct. Yeah,
And
it's no, you're 100% correct. So basically, MPC from my angle was more from like developer stand. So how do developers use this? I think for the agent, it's also interesting. I follow a lot what George is doing there. Also, the skill MD is really nice. So your proposal really aligns, I think, very closely to this. And then also, I think you have a lot of insights on this distribution layers of like X402 and the other Ethereum proposal, which the number I forget. And I think what uh, Marco shared. So I really would love to hear those, George, if you have the time still.
of course, and now what I believe is also very important for people to understand is to view from the eyes of a builder that wants to enter Lightburn how easy it is, and to understand that the 6 stages of workload development. If you have the MCP, you solve the engineering stage because you have the, let's say that you spot an opportunity that you intuitively think it's the right one. You believe that you can deploy in Livepeer using ConfStream workloads for automated camera, automated camera surveillance and image item spotting through the camera. Now, what you have to do, there are so many steps, and having an MCP which to I know it's more complex than that, but you can accomplish the same things as having an MCP with a well-crafted API, and it is, I think, also easier to implement in a weekend than implementing an MCP because there are way more patterns traditional that you can just drop to your LM through LM engineering and make it possible. And then you, after you research, you have to develop it, and then you have to test it, and so it's not just the MCP, and then you have distributed orchestrators and to consumers. And I know that you guys like already working with the registry, the foundation is working for something to make distribution to orchestrators better. But you need all of these, and I'm not saying like that our proposed solution like is the best. I think like you need to have different hedges and different teams working on different bets, but they need to address the issue holistically. Else, you have to go back and automate the rest of the steps. And I think this is whatever you're doing, like a great thing to focus, like your time if you're looking to increase is into the network. Like even if you have like a different approach, uh, you can have, for example, Peter, like uh, the MCP server doing more than just allowing the agents to communicate. Sorry, uh, to communicate with orchestrators to deploy the workloads. You can have the skill.md feature in the MCP itself. You can expose that. You can also expose the research
You're taking some
state.
words right out of my brain here. Like I do think that what we're talking about might actually be some kind of okay, I kind of have grown to hate microservices, but at the same time it could be a better orientation or and despite my hate of monoliths, a combination of something like the clearinghouse, a gateway, and an MCP server that handles the payments, the selection and distribution orientation of different job types and basically tools for your agent.
You can probably consolidate the interaction of the agent through all the services through a single MCP. I think it's possible.
I think you're right. I mean, it could call out to these other services. It could coordinate payment with a payment clearinghouse, and it could get selection from another service. And ideally, being a distributed kind of idea here, those should be different. I think because there's no reason that a selection service that handled and exposed the capabilities on the network of these Comfy Stream orchestrators couldn't be called all by many different gateways that may or may not use the same payment clearinghouse service.
I'm not sure I understand this. So the different gateways may use different clearing house services.
I'll admit that I'm not intimately familiar with the clearinghouse service, but my understanding is that it could be hosted by many people extensively, similar to gateways. Like you might be able to run your own clearinghouse. I mean, we have ours that we're building here in Latvia, but I've spent building a gateway into, using a debit card at a physical machine that I'm sitting now, just or either or whatever. So,
The sound
that's
is a
kind
bit,
of
yes, is a bit scuffed.
sorry, my subject has been a little bit iffy.
Jason here is, I think what he says like has a lot of value if you can abstract it away, and I think that the pathways on that you can have specialized people for deploying the gateways potentially, and like you have the cloud space, so you don't have uh, multiple people deploying gateways, and you can have other specialized individuals the deploying the remote assigner components if those can be deployed uh, in different environments, in different remote environments, and then you can expose everything through the MCP server. But generally, I think the idea of the MCP server, where the agents can interact and step one, get the details on how to interact with the MCP from the MCP, like even better, or through skill.md. Step two, like understand what they need to, how they can operate the workload, how they can use, what workloads are available, sorry, and how they can use each workload. And then step three, how they can pay for the workloads.
Yes, exactly. And so that has to communicate with, in some way, some type of, well, my understanding, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, chime in here, that the clearinghouse is made to solve some of these problems of allowing an agent to pay for a service through a gateway.
Yeah, yeah, I might be missing one piece of this, but I'll try to illustrate what my best understanding of it. So just put a link there as a link to the MD doc on remote signers. So remote signer is part of the payment clearinghouse. It has the hot wallet that's paying for the actual jobs in the network with a real deposit and reserve like a traditional gateway. But within the payment clearinghouse, you also have all of your users, right? And there's an authentication layer to where people are signing up for an account and maybe linking a debit card with a Stripe plugin or something, and having some credit to which, when work is performed, they're authenticated through an API key and billed for it.
Right, your agent, and so your agent's basically logged into the clearinghouse as your entity. And
Yeah.
Ask you to pay for these services from your
Correct. Yeah, that's my best understanding of it, right? The remote signer is still involved in interacting with the orchestrators in the network. The remote signer becomes that liaison for which X402 can work with. and I might have a bit of that wrong. So I've not really worked on X402 as intensely as I have like NAAP the past month or so. But I have been working on payment clearinghouse and kind of modeling what that's going to look like. So I'd love to have some input from anyone who's more familiar with X402.
So the remote signer can be deployed as a standalone remote service outside of a Go Live Peer bring your own container implementation. So you can have multiple, let's say 5 bring your own container um, implementation on different orchestrators and all of them communicating through the remote signer. Consumers communicated on with the remote signer, and then the remote signer
Yeah, I think there are different personas here. We've got our orchestrators who are running Comfy Stream, let's just say, on behind an orchestrator. And then you have like a platform who's trying to serve a site that provides a service. And the service ostensibly could be, an agent for every user. And each user's agent would then have to communicate with a clearinghouse of sorts that the platform, is running, and they're kind of they're paying forward. They're what is that? So, they're paying for all of the fees onto the LivePeer network, go through the clearinghouse to a gateway to the orchestrator who's running ComfyStream, and but the platform is then they're responsible for taking fees from their users, for whom they're effectively subsidizing LivePeer credits. Because their users pay a monthly fee and whatever, but they're actually the platform. Somebody else is running a backend server that is their platform that's hosting their website for every user of their website that's running an agent, and each of those agents are then hitting a gateway and at the same time really the clearinghouse, but also maybe the MTP, because that's what their agents are calling.